Hello everyone, welcome to PowerAutomate Desktop tutorial with Level Up Tech. So in the last video, we have seen different activities or actions, right? Like the activities which are related to set variable. In order to assign the variable value to a variable, we will be using set variable, and we have discussed about increase variable, decrease variable, and truncate number, right? In this today's video, we are going to see about these four activities. Okay, that is create new list, add item to a list, remove item from a list, and clear list. So how we are going to see this? So there should be some use case should be given, right? Then only it will be we will be able to remain in the features also. So using these particular points, we are going to demonstrate these four action items. Okay, so what are all these? So in last session we have used set variable activity, right? Why we use that particular action? If we want to store a single value to a variable, then we will be using set variable activity. But here, what if you want to store multiple names to a variable? Then how we can do that? So using this particular create new list activity only, we will be able to do it. Okay, the very first requirement is we have to store 5 students name in the list. Okay, so here what is list? List is a collection of values, generic values. Basically in Power Automate terms, it is a collection of generic values, we can say. Okay, and it can have one or many values in it. So the very first thing is we are going to store 5 student names inside the list, and after that we are going to add one more student name in the existing list. Whatever list we will be creating, right, in the very same list we are going to add one more student name. And finally in the third step, like what we are going to do is we are going to remove a student name, particular student name, from the list based on index or value. Okay, and also if that particular student name is available more than once inside the list, right, then all the occurrences should be deleted. Okay, so that's what our requirement, third requirement. And final requirement is we have to clear the list, that is we have to empty the list. Okay, so this is what our agenda is. So let's get into Power Automate Desktop so that we can demonstrate these four action items. Okay, so the very first thing is we have create new list activity, right? Let me get into Power Automate Desktop, and here I have created the process that is list variable. So now the Power Automate Desktop is getting fired up, so it may take 1 or 2 minutes, or within 30 seconds also it might get loaded. So now we are in the workspace. So the middle one, which is nothing but the workspace, on the left hand side whatever we have, this is called as actions, right? So based on this actions only, we are going to build our automation. So now we have seen like 4 activities, right, where these 4 activities will be available: create new list, add item to the list, remove item from list, clear list. Where these activities can be found, it will be there under the variables option. So if you see under variables, we will be having the activity called add item to a list. Okay, and we have seen few more, right? 3 more, that is clear list we have seen from the notepad, and we have seen two more things: create new list, and the other one thing is remove item from list. So that also we were able to look into over here. Okay, so now we will start with the creation of the list. If we want to store some value, then first the list should be defined, right? Suppose let's say if we want to store some value to a variable, then what we will be doing, we have to create the variable name so that that particular value can be placed inside in it, right? So similarly here also, if we want to store many names, right, first of all we have to create the list, then only we will be able to add the values into the list. Okay, so if we want to create a list, right, the list variable, then this particular activity or action is going to help us. Okay, so I'm dragging this create new list, and you can see it is not producing anything except this particular variable. It is not having any input and it is not having any output. Only thing is it is producing one variable as a output. That variable type is nothing but list variable. Okay, and inside list, as we mentioned already, it can store list of generic value, collection of generic value. When I say collection of generic value, it can store integer, that is number, or it can store string, that is text, or it can store any other type of data types also. Okay, so for now I'm going to create a student list, right, because we want to store student names, right? So let's name the variable name as, let's give the variable name as student name list, and I'm clicking on save. So as soon as we click on save, here you will be able to see that particular list under the flow variables tab. Okay, so this is our list variable. So this variable has been created. Now what we have to do as a next step, we have to store 5 students name, right? So let's do that. How we can do that? If you want to add something to the already created list, then using this add item to list activity only we will be able to do it. And here the description, what it says, appends a new item to a list. So the list variable will be already created. To that particular variable we are going to append the item, or we can say we are going to add a item to the existing list variable. Okay, so here it is asking what you want to add, right? So here you will be able to hard code the value also. If you want to hard code the value, you can do it, or if you have stored that particular value inside a variable, right, then you would be able to access that particular variable also over here. For now I'll be hard coding the value, that is level up, and then where you want to add it. We need to add it into a list, right, which has been created already, that is student name list. So let's call this particular variable so that this level up value will be getting added inside the student name list. Okay, let's click on save. Similarly we have to do it for 4 more things. Okay, so let me copy it quickly, and let's only change the value over here. So I'm going to save the second value as Somesh, and the third value as Manish, and fourth value as Naveen, and fifth value will be Praveen. So now we have stored 5 values into the list. Okay, so how we can check it? Like in the last time when we have set a value to a variable, how we have validated that? Using the message box, we have displayed that particular value to the end user, right? Similarly here also, now we have added 5 items, that is 5 students name to a list. So how we can again validate it? Using display message. So what this particular activity is going to do, it is going to display whatever has been stored inside this particular variable, that is student name list variable, that we want to display to the end user. Okay, so let me give it a student info as the window title, and what we want to display here, it is asking message to display. So what we want to display, we want to display whatever value we are going to have inside in it. Now I'll hit on save, and let's run the bot. Now you can see whatever value that we have added, everything is being shown to us with the help of message box activity. And on the right hand side also you would be able to see the values which we have added, right? So this is how we can add an item to a already created list. Okay, so now our first agenda, the very first agenda is completed, and also already we have added 5 students name, right? Now we want to add one more student name. How we can add it? If we want to add it to a list, using add item to list only we would be able to do it, right? So let's do add item to list, and this time instead of student name I'm going to give the value as 100. Why we are giving the value as 100? Just to make sure like it is going to accept all the different kind of data types also. Already it has string data type, which is 5 names. Now we are adding the number data type, right? This 100 is nothing but the number, that is integer, right? So let's verify whether it is accepting or not. As per the definition it should accept, Now we will check it, and as you can see it is accepting that as well, and with the help of message box we were able to validate that as well. Okay, so now we were completed with our top 2 agenda. So what is the next one? The next one is we have to remove the student name, right? So how we can do that? And here if you see this particular activity, that is this particular action, remove item from list, we have added the item to the list and we have created a new list. Now what is our requirement? We have to remove a particular item from the list, right? So this activity is going to help us. With the name itself we were able to understand it is going to remove the item from the existing list, right? So let's see. And here you can see we have the activity. This is again, it will be available under variables panel only, so we can drag this and then drop it over here. Okay, and here remove item by, so this is a drop down field, and here you will be having 2 things. That's what the description also says, right? So here the requirement is we have to remove based on name, that is based on value, and also based on index. So the list will work similar to array. So how, if we want to retrieve the value from the array, how we can retrieve it? Based on index position we can retrieve the value, right? So always the index will start from 0 to length minus 1, right? So here also the list also will work in the very similar manner. So now what we want to do is, now we want to remove only this particular item, that is the value Somesh, right? We want to remove only this particular item from the list. So how we can do that? So let's drag this particular activity, and the index of Somesh is nothing but 1, right? Because in 0th position we have added level up, and in the first position we have added the value Somesh, right? So I have mentioned the index as 1. Now PowerAutomate is asking from which list you want to delete the value, that is you want to remove the value from. So where we want to remove the value? In the student name list only we are having that particular value Somesh, right? So we have to remove it from there only. So let's click on save, and this time when we run it in the display message box, the Somesh value shouldn't be shown to us, and as you can see it is removed successfully. Okay, this is fine, this is cool, and we have done it using based on the index, right? This time we will change it to value. Okay, so this time if it says value, then we have to give whatever value that we want to remove, right? You have to give that particular value. Okay, so I'm giving that value, and for now I'm not touching this particular button, and I'll be clicking on save, and then I'll be running it. See, we were able to get the same output as the last time, right? So now instead of Manish, I will add one more time Somesh. Okay, so now we can see we have the value Somesh twice, right, in the list. So we want to remove all the occurrences of the value Somesh. How we can do that? Here you have a activity, that is here you have one functionality, remove all item occurrences. So once we enable this, whatever value we have the value as Somesh, all the values will be removed. Okay, how it can be one occurrences, or it can be multiple occurrences also, like it can have 10 also. So wherever it is able to find the value Somesh in this particular list, all the occurrences will be removed. So let's see now. Now you can see like we have added 2 value, that is Somesh inside the list, but now we were not able to see the value because of that particular functionality, remove all occurrences of item Somesh. Okay, so now we are done with our third agenda, right? The very last agenda is empty the list. Okay, so now we have removed only one. So if the user is expecting to remove everything from the list, right? So how he can do it? So the activity name is clear list. So under variable section you would be able to find this clear list activity. So I'm clicking here. Okay, and if you see here, it is expecting only one thing, only one input. What it is expecting? It is expecting only the list name, a list variable, to remove its elements. So it is going to remove all the content from the list. Okay, so it is not going to remove based on index or based on the value. It is going to remove the entire content which is going to present inside that list. And you can read the description also. It says remove all items from a list. So it is expecting only one thing, that is the student name, that list variable name. So we have given that, and this time when we run our bot, in the display message it should not show anything, it should show like empty. If it shows empty, then our understanding is correct. And here you can see it is not showing anything, then we can say the clear list activity works perfectly fine, right? Yeah, so now we are done with our fourth agenda and the very final agenda also. That's all guys for today's video. Stay tuned for the upcoming videos. Thank you so much guys. Bye bye.